이제 솔라나 창립자들이랑 솔라나 개발자들한테 이제 말씀 전달하고 싶어서 방송하면서 만약에 영어 해석 뭐 이제 한국말 필요하면 저한테 알려주세요. So actually, I'm gonna do this broadcast in English because uh, the primary audience, the people who I mostly want to speak to today, are the Solana founders. Of course, Parcel. I'll be speaking to those founders and those devs, and I want to be. I want to. I want the Toker team, obviously, to know my thoughts as well. I'm going to be talking about real estate on Solana, right? My audience is primarily Korean. It's like 80% Korean, but I already told them that I'll be doing this mostly in English. If they need to translate, they can ask, right? So the reason I have a specific reason for why I want to do this in English, and I'm speaking directly to the Solana devs and the founders, is this market is very new. It's very nascent. It's just starting to develop in Solana. Not a lot of people are paying attention to this, but obviously my subscribers, you know who I am. 삐약삐약님, 저 이제 오늘은 이제 금방 말씀 했는 대로 솔라나 창립자들이랑 솔라나 개발자들한테 말씀 전달해주고 싶어서 걔네들이 교육 좀 받아야 돼요. 저희 개인 의견 알려줄 거니까 영어로 할 거예요. 그래서 만약에 그 한국말 해석 필요하면 저한테 말씀하세요, 삐약삐약님. So yeah, so Korea has been involved in this type of blockchain based fintech, and they call it prop tech. Actually, I found this very funny word when I was researching this. They've been involved in this space for a very long time, far longer than anyone else, as far as I know. And the involvement in terms of infrastructure that they've had to lay down for something like this kind of venture to succeed, it goes back a long ways. Nobody in Solana knows this. I even tweeted at this. A lot of people don't know this. I tweeted at Chase about this a very long time ago, right? For example, I'm just giving you an example of how little people in Solana know about this. I tweeted Chase about this in October. I said, Chase, can you get someone in Solana to work on REITs, local blockchains? Obviously, I'm referring to Casa Korea. Casa Korea here are already in real estate, non-metaverse. Solana needs to jump on this, right? So someone in Solana heard about this, obviously, and they had an idea of doing some kind of real estate protocol on Solana, right? And Chase, even he didn't know what a REITs was, right? So the level of awareness in the Solana community is very little. It's very small because this is not something that people in Solana have been paying attention to. Obviously, I'm the opposite. I'm probably one of the first people in Solana to explore these kinds of protocols and whether they can be built on Solana, right? Because it's a huge market, right? And of course, I'm an investor, right? I'm a retail investor. So if I want to invest in Solana, I want to put my money in something that benefits me, like I can make money off of it, right? Obviously, that's where the incentives should be in line with all these dApps in Solana, right? These DeFi protocols so far have not delivered value to investors, and that's the truth. So this is something that's actually legitimate. It's not a Ponzi. 99% of Solana is a Ponzi, or Solana DeFi is a Ponzi. You know, the last year showed it. But I'm looking at actual worthwhile investments in Solana DeFi specifically, right? So REITs is obviously something that I'm looking out for, and something that I've been watching for a very long time. And we're starting to see real estate on Solana. Right. So this is a good development. I said it here today when I tweeted about this. I said it's overall a good direction and development in Solana DeFi. But there's a lot of things that still need to be addressed by these protocols, right? And I'm going to go over things that they don't know, right, about the market, or at least I'm assuming they don't know, or that a lot of investors don't know. So those people are the ones who are going to be curious about what I have to say today, right? And this is actually really funny because the thing that I'm talking about today, Zoo tweeted about this. Zoo tweets today. This is today, right? Today, March 31st, 10 a.m. Today, less than 24 hours ago, Zoo tweeted this funny thing here. He goes, "Has anything been achieved in those fintech regulatory sandboxes?" I laughed when I saw this. When Zoo tweeted this, I laughed. And I even tweeted him. I tweeted at him. I said, "If you have to ask Mr. Zoo to answer your question, Mr. Zoo, yes, there has been something useful that came out of fintech regulatory sandboxes. And I'm going to mention a specific one here in Korea that obviously you have never heard of. Nobody in Solana has heard of. So I'll be educating all of you Solana people. It's just a lot of information asymmetry, right, in Solana. And I'm here to address that, right? So the Korean Financial Services Commission had a sandbox, right? And they have a sandbox, and it's designed to facilitate and look into innovative financial services, right? So obviously, this is a fintech venture, right? Basically, the Korean government wants to see what fintech can produce, right, in finance, and obviously, they came out something very interesting came out of this, right? And I'm going to show you what it is, Zoo. There is something called Casa Korea, and they are the market leader in real estate blockchain tokenization. So this is what came out of the KSC and their sandbox, right? It was founded in 2018, so they basically have right almost like a 5 year ahead start of anything going on in Solana. Right, there's nothing in Solana that can compare to Casa Korea, and that's a fact. Um, and they are the market leader, global market leader, I should add, in this type of venture. In this type of venture. So, this picture here is the founder of Casa Korea. They partner with KB Hana Bank, right? You can see the Korean banner here. Casa Korea의 업무 협력 체결, right? So basically, they formed an official partnership to develop this venture called Casa Korea, right? And what Parcel claims, right? They I did listen to their Twitter space yesterday. They are definitely planning to do an IDO soon, right? Based on what I heard in their Twitter space yesterday. So when you go to their website, Parcel claims that their synthetics derivatives based model is superior to DAbs, right? So if you don't know what a DAbs is, it's digital asset backed security. That's what it is, right? So if you were around for 2008 and you know anything about finance, you know what a mortgage-backed security is, MBS. It's kind of like a similar idea, but it's a digital version of an MBS, right? So they claim, and I quote on the Parcel homepage, they say smarter than a REIT or fractional ownership, right? So fractional ownership is basically what a DABS is what Casa does, right? Just to put it succinctly, right? Um, REIT is different, obviously, from what Casa Korea is doing because the investors directly choose which buildings, commercial properties that they want to invest in or claim fractional ownership uh, in, right? So that's the basic difference between a DApps and a REITs, a traditional REITs, right? So what I want to do is given Casa Korea's model, right? I want to compare Casa Korea's model to what Parcel and even an upcoming real estate protocol on Solana called Toker, what they're doing, right? So Parcel has been in development for I think a year now. I think they made their Twitter early 2021, I believe. Oh, May 2021. Okay, so they opened their Twitter. They started their Twitter a little bit after I started my Twitter, right? So they've been around Solana for about a year, right? And what I'm going to do today, again, I'm going to evaluate the strengths and weaknesses of the way Casa is approaching this problem, right? And the way Parcel is approaching the problem of real estate um, tokenization. And I'll be looking at the market and the overall market and telling what I think about the overall market. So how does the Casa model work? How like what exactly is going on with Casa Korea? So Casa Korea is directly regulated by the Korean Financial Services Commission. In Korean it's called the Kumyung. So the Kumyung, like those guys, they have to be involved with something like this because people's finances are at risk here, right? So if you think that this type of oversight is not necessary for a protocol specifically like real estate, I've got to disagree with you 100%. It's just an absolute must. I stated this unequivocally in my tweet about what parcel and real estate protocols on Solana should be doing. I said it right here very clearly. I said parcels acts more like derivative synthetics than an actual REIT. They are a unique class of aggregated data, but need to solve the much harder problem of here. This is the key problem of government sanctions, regulations, but on a global scale. Saw is apparently unaware of other successful teams which have been operating in the space for years under regulatory purview. For example, Casa Korea, partnering with the FSC. I just mentioned the FSC, Korean Financial Services Commission. These guys over here, Commune Wionhe. So they also have these associated trusts, right? These partners, right? On the right side here. So on the left side here, you have regulatory bodies that make sure, people's funds are safe. They're not going to be, you know, you know, fall victims to fraud, right? And then you have these other underwriters and partners, right? You have SK Securities, and then you have KB Hana Bank. If you don't know what SK is one of the biggest chaebols or conglomerates in Korea. They control a shit ton of stuff in Korea. They do a lot of different things, right? They're in telecom. SK is involved in a lot of different things, right? They're involved in securities, obviously. They're involved in a lot of stuff, right? They even have apartments, right? They're involved in developing real estate and things like that, right? KB, obviously, huge bank in Korea, absolutely huge bank, one of the biggest banks in Korea, right? I'm pretty sure after their merger, if you didn't know anything about KB Hana Bank, there used to be two separate banks. I don't know if foreigners know this. There used to be KB, which used to be its own bank, and then Hana Bank used to be its own bank, and then they merged. I don't know, like around 10 years ago or something like that. And then they became one bank, KB Hana Bank. So again, massive banks, massive financial interests that are backing, right? Respected institutions that are backing this venture, Casa Korea, right? So you have regulatory oversight, you have that mechanism, right? And then you have the right backers, and then you have obviously the core function of Casa Korea, right? They issued digital certificates, DAbs, right? You can see it right here. In Korean, you call it 부동산 이동화 수익 증권, right? So Casa actually has physical custody of the deeds. They are the owners and guardians of the deeds. So they actually own it. They own the properties, right? And that's how they're able to guarantee the security of investors and their deposits. Um, that they're not going to commit any fraud, right? They're not selling assets that aren't backed physically, right? They are backed physically, right? Um, the blockchain itself, the blockchain guarantees, right, the authenticity of the certificates themselves, right? So that's the basic model, the basic business model of Casa Korea, right? Parcel is missing, obviously, two huge pillars here. Casa or Parcel is missing regulatory oversight, right? They have officially, I checked their homepage. Um, they don't have any similar type of regulatory oversight in the jurisdictions, right? That they're involved in, right? So they are involved with, I think, what New York real estate, right? I looked on here, right? It says invest in neighborhoods around the US. So they look at the real estate data of these certain neighborhoods and things like that, and then they come up with an index, right? And they have the prices per square feet, right? So you can see different locales in America, right? But y- the thing with parcel is you're not anything that you invest is not backed by a physical or tangible asset like they are with casa, right? There's no custody of any of these deeds on the behalf of parcel. Parcel does not retain custody of any of these uh, assets physically, right? And that's a major weakness. Like no matter how you want to put it, it is a major weakness, right? Because there's no guarantee, right? No, there's no protections, right? Investor protections, right? And that's a huge weakness. It's an absolute weakness, no matter how you want to think about it, right? So let's move on to what I view is, or what I call is the ownership problem, right? This is what I call the ownership problem, right? Real estate's value is intrinsically it's comes from ownership, right? So like I said, you have to own the asset, and it's an investment, right? So when it comes to things like REITs and things like that, REITs specifically were designed, right, to be a non-speculative real estate asset, right? Parcel actually is doing the opposite of what a REITs or even fractional ownership does, right? Um, what Parcel does here, specifically off their website, they create real estate tokens called parcels, like I showed you, right? These are the examples, right? You can see them here, right? These are all examples of the parcels on their protocol, right? And you can speculate basically on these tokens. They it's like an indexed price, right? So um, they say that it's over collateralized, right? And it's this is why I say it's very similar to a synthetics. It behaves like like a synthetic asset or derivatives asset, derivatives based asset. I said it right here, right? So one of the problems with something like Parcel, again, right? Not only is there an ownership problem, right? There's an ownership problem, right? But these kinds of protocols, right? They're essentially just aggregated data. They could be rolled up into something like Casa, and that's a fact, right? It can be rolled up into something like Casa, right? Um, so I don't know how Parcel is, compares in terms of any real benefits, right? Aside from mere speculation, right? It has speculative value, and that's all it has, right? So, in my opinion, in my honest opinion, I don't think this is really, on a just on a fundamental. When you look at the fundamentals, I don't think it's a very investment worthy project. I remember hearing from the Twitter Spaces, they do have backers, right? They have Solana Ventures backing them, and these other VCs, right? So VCs are backing Parcel. Obviously, they think that people are going to buy their tokens, the Parcel tokens, right? Because people will be speculating on these uh, real estate tokens, right? Me personally, I will not be endorsing something like this unless I see them address this ownership problem, right? You got to see something like, if they forego this regulatory oversight, right? If they don't have this, they have to find an uh, an acceptable substitute. There's got to be some kind of substitute for this. In this case, I think they just replace these with VCs, obviously. So the VCs are acting as underwriters and partners in this case, right? But unless there's some sort of investor protection, some kind of mechanism for this type of uh, regulation, right? It's going to be extremely dangerous for 99% of investors. It's just going to be extremely dangerous to invest in a protocol like this, right? So just based on fundamentals alone, fundamental analysis alone, I'm not super interested in investing in Parcel. But obviously, anything can change in crypto, right? Anything can change, right? So I will be keeping an eye on it to see how it develops and what happens later with it. This is a category, obviously, real estate is a category that I'm personally very interested in Solana, right? So I'll be paying attention to it. Um, so I hope people in Solana learn right about how other entities are already right. Other teams are already approaching this problem of you know um, blockchain based real estate. Right? Not many people know about this. Right? If you're wondering like what Casa has been up to recently, Casa Korea has been expanding. So if you're wondering like was it just a one and done thing? Was it just a flash in the pan? It was not, right? I saw this article that was written, like 6 months ago. Casa establishes presence in Singapore to take on the world. So, started out in Korea, right? Started out in Korea, and now they've expanded to Singapore. So it's a successful model, right? Casa Korea is taking its real estate trading model to Singapore. What did they do in Singapore? It's very similar, right? Look, you got to focus on this part here, right? This month, Casa Singapore received both a capital market services CMS license. Again, they are under regulation, right? They're regulated by the CMS, right? Uh, or by the Monetary Authority of Singapore. Sorry. So the MAS, right, is a similar, body as the FSC in Korea, right? Based on that, right? So Korea has the FSC, Singapore has the MAS, which is their, regulatory body, right? And they have a license. They have a capital market services license. They're a recognized market operator. Obviously, any type of real estate protocol is going to have to receive this type of sanction, official sanction, for it to be considered a legitimate investment. Just that's just how it's going to be, right? That's the way it's going to be, right? The CMS license enables Casa Singapore to issue and offer digital securities. The RMO license allows the company to offer secondary trading of securities, right? So they have a legal basis for, their venture, right? Now, there is something that is kind of interesting to see what could happen with real estate. And this is one of the Riptide projects that I've been looking at, right? It's called Toker. So what they're doing is bypassing this type of um, government oversight altogether. So they're getting rid of this completely, and they're doing it their own way through a DAO. And this is interesting to see how they're going to use a DAO to replace, right? Basically everything. It's all going to be wrapped up into one entity, right? The DAO, right? So I don't know exactly who's going to be involved in this DAO. It's kind of a novel approach to use a DAO to roll up all of these functions into one function. I don't know how they're going to do it. Um, they would have to get some big backers, right? I don't know what kind of partnerships need to be made to legitimize this kind of real estate, DeFi plus real estate NFT DAO, right? But this is an alternative, right? If you don't want government oversight, regulatory oversight, and I don't know how, I don't know how realistic or feasible this um, proposal is. I'm not sure. This is just very early. I don't think they even have a website yet. They don't have anything, right? It's just the proof of concept. That's all they have, right? So this is even earlier in the development stage than Parcel, right? But I don't know if Parcel and Toker need to merge. I don't know if they need to work together to create something. I have no idea. Right? I have no idea what they need to do. But um uh, you know, the only real weakness of Kaza here is it's limited, obviously, in terms of geography. They can only list certain, certain properties, right? So scope wise, yes, they are limited, but I don't really see the problem with that. I really don't. It'll take time for them to acquire more properties and, you know, achieve revenue to continue to buy more properties. But once they hit a critical mass, you know, Casa Korea and these types of teams, they're just going to have such a huge head start compared to anything that Solana can put out, and that's a fact, right? So it's going to take way more time. I'll tell you that right now. Again, I just told you in the beginning of the broadcast, Casa Korea started in 2018. It took them 5 years of building the infrastructure and gaining revenue, right, for them to expand to another country. So they had to do a lot of negotiating with a lot of different people. It must have been extremely, a long, process, right? So uh, it's going to be very similar, if not even worse, for something like Parcel and Toker, right? For them to get involved in real estate and build out their stack, right? But in terms of what retail should be doing, obviously retail is going to be paying attention to Parcel and Toker, right? These are things that I'll be keeping on because as an investor, of course, I want to invest in something. If something like Casa Korea comes out, just obviously you just move it, basically fork it on Solana, right? And that is going to be the biggest problem that any of these real estate protocols on Solana face, right? So I think most Korean people, they already know this. They know Casa Korea. It's been around for such a long time. So I think my Korean viewers, they already knew this. So my primary purpose again was to educate the Solana community because not many people in Solana know what's going on in this sector, right? It's a big market, but Solana needs to do a lot of work before it can catch up with heavy hitters like Casa, in my opinion, right? Um, so that's what I wanted to say. Hopefully, you learned something important about what's going on in Solana real estate and what the market is like, right? What the larger market is like. I like to see things like this, but it's going to be a very long, slow process. It's going to be a very long, slow process, but something worth keeping an eye on, obviously, if you want to get into Solana DeFi, if you're interested in Solana DeFi like I am, right? So there you go. Um, That's all I want to say about this. 우리 구독자들이 만약에 영어 계속 영어로 해서 이거 못 알아들으시면 뭐 저한테 질문하세요. 근데 뭐 대충 슬라이드로 볼 수 있으니까 뭐 그냥 한마디로 되게 간단히 한국말로 설명하면 이제 최근에 이제 솔라나에 이런 부동산 이제 프로토콜들이 생겼지만 특히 여기 오른쪽에 이제 랩타일 새 부동산 프로토콜이 나왔지만 parsol은 작년에 시작한 거고 이런 프로토콜이 있지만 현재 이미 이런 이제 카사 코리아 이런 팀이 있으니까 그리고 자리 이미 잡았으니까 그리고 발전된 지 오래됐으니까 이제 새 솔라나 프로토콜들이 이런 분들이랑 이제 경쟁하고 싶으면 엄청 힘들 거예요. 그래서 그냥 되게 이제 기본 구조 같은 거 이제 역할 같은 거 비교하면 얘네들은 이제 그 규제 기관이랑 이제 그 정부 사람들이 관리하니까 그리고 승인 받았으니까 이런 이제 회사 할 수 있는데 이런 어 그 사업할 수 있는데 솔라나 프로토콜들은 거의 그냥 이제 그 일반 투자자들한테 덤핑 이런 토ken 이제 아이디어하고 그냥 이제 얘네들 backing 하는 VC들이 그냥 거의 이제 걔네들 돈만 이제 벌고 싶어서 이런 프로젝트 이제 그 backing 하는데 지원하는데 물론 우리 일반인 투자자 같은 경우는 이런 프로토콜에 투자하기가 되게 위험해요. 그런 것 때문에. 이런 거 이제 그 보안 같은 거 없으면 투자자 보안 같은 거 없으면 보장 없이 이런 프로토콜 막 투자하면 되게 위험하다고 생각합니다, 개인적으로. 물론 우리 한국 구독자들은 저보다 이런 거 더 잘 알 것 같아서 카스코리아는 이제 한국 회사니까 이제 솔라나 커뮤니티가 잘 몰라요. 솔라나 사람들도 잘 몰라요 이런 거. 그래서 예를 들면 체이스 바커가 이제 이 개발자 솔라나 대표 그 관리 경영팀 분인데 얘가 이 REITs도 몰랐어요. REITs 자체도 몰랐었어요. 작년 10월에 이거 물어봤을 때 트위터에. 그래서 이제 외국인 솔라나 커뮤니티에는 이런 거 잘 몰라요. 이 카사 코리아 같은 경우. 그래서 그거 이제 솔라나 창립자들이랑 개발자들한테 말씀 전달 하나 해 주고 싶었어요. 그렇지만 저희 같은 경우는 이제 솔라나 디파이 많이 관심 있으니까 이런 거 쪼끔 집중적으로 보긴 볼 거예요 계속. 투자할 만한지. 만약에 이런 프로토콜이 카사 코리아처럼 이런 거 이제 기본 다 이제 되면 쪼금 더 이제 투자할 만해지니까 물론 그런 거 우리 투자자, 우리 구독자들도 그런 거 트래킹 하면 좋을 것 같아요. 만약에 이런 거 투자하고 싶으면. 그게 다예요. 간단히 설명하면 대충 설명하면. 이거 마지막 하나 이건 이제 그 DAO식으로 부동산 할 건데 이것도 쪼끔 신기해요. 만약에 이런 거 정확히 어떻게 할 건지 부동산 어떻게 할 건지 그런 거 이제 궁금하면 이 토클도 립타이드 최근에 마지막 해커톤 립타이드 해커톤에 나온 프로젝트인데 이것도 나중에 발표할 때 저도 그 커버할 거예요. 정확히 이거 뭐 DAO식으로 이 부동산 어떻게 할 건지. 그래서 우리 구독자들도 이거 궁금했으면 NFT하고 DAO로 이제 부동산 할 거면 궁금하겠죠, 우리 구독자들이. 그래서 저도 이거 커버 할 거예요, 계속. Okay, so that's it. Let me go back to other stuff. 다른 소식 볼게요. I think that was it. 그게 뭐 메인 전달해 주고 싶은 거였고 the chart 차트도 볼게요. Definitely gotta look at the chart. People are excited because the price went up. 가격이 갑자기 올라가서 사람들이 많이 신나요, 사람들. Where are we right now? 우리 구독자들이 궁금한 거 있으면 저한테 물어보세요. If you're curious about anything that's going on in Solana, obviously you can ask. I'll be more than happy to go over anything in Solana with you guys. 127. Oh, we're pumping. Loving to see this. Loving to see this. This is pretty big resistance though. So I'm gonna tell my subscribers right now. 우리 구독자들한테 분명히 말씀할게요. 여기 완전 큰 resistance이니까 여기에 저처럼 여기에 조금 구매한 분들이 아직 그 조금 안 뺐으면 조금이라도 빼기 나쁘지 않을 것 같아요. 만약에 만약에 아직도 안 뺐으면 여기에 아무것도 안 뺐으면 여기 되게 중요한 그 피보나치예요, 여기. This is a big Fibonacci. It's the 0.618 Fibonacci. This could turn out to be a fake out and we could just go straight back down here and people will get wrecked. Right? So secure, lock in some profits if you haven't already. 아직 여기 이 중요한 피보나치 이제 fake out 될 수도 있으니까 여기 피보나치 0.618 피보나치 이제 거의 이제 올라왔지만 언제든지 다시 갑작스럽게 이렇게 다시 내려갔다가 막 움직일 수 있으니까 만약에 쪼끔이라도 안 뺐으면 쪼끔이라도 빼세요. 이 중요한 피보나치니까. There's two big Fibonacci's here. 여기 큰 피보나치 두 개 있는데 the 0.618 and the point five Fibonacci도 여기 있으니까 always play the fibs, right? 이 피보나치 level 꼭 보세요. 그냥 개인 의견이요. 뭐 알아서 잘 거래해요, 우리 구독자들이. Okay, let's see. 댓글 한번 볼게요. DSPN, what's up, man? First time seeing you, but I'm glad you're here. 처음 보는 구독자인데 반가. I always love to see new faces. 새 얼굴 항상 좋아요. Just does 청담동 land exist? 청담동 land on parcel? Are you talking about parcel? I don't think it's on parcel. Is it on Casa Korea? Casa Korea, I think they have a couple of properties, but I don't know if they have anything in 청담. Let me see exactly what properties they have. 정확히 카사코리아가 어떤 건물 있는지 한번 볼게요. 역삼 한국기술센터. 이건 우리 집 완전 그냥 바로 옆에인데. So this is one of the buildings that Casa Korea owns. This is a massive commercial property, and it turns out it's like literally next to my apartment. I live like next to this building. 저희 집이랑 이거 뭐 500 미터도 안 될 것 같아요, 여기. It's like next to my house. 역삼 런던빌. This is close to my neighborhood. Obviously, I live in 역삼동, right? 저도 역삼동에 거주 중이니까 서초 지회타워. This is another big building near Gangnam. It's in Seocho district, which is right next to Gangnam district, right? If you're a foreigner and you don't know what this is, 여의도 익스콘 벤처 타워. Okay, so this is in Yeouido. This is kind of like on an island in the central part of Seoul. It's where a lot of financial services firms are, banks and big conglomerates are located, or they have branches there in Yeouido. Boutique Hotel 누리 중구. 중구. Okay, so this is in Central Seoul. They have a hotel in Central Seoul as well. So I mean, when you look at these properties, 진짜 이런 건물들 보면 카사 크레 같은 경우는 되게 일반 뭐 지비하고 뭐 그런 거 이제 별로 관심이 없고, 이런 되게 안전한 건물 같은 걸로 이제 시작했으니까, 여기부터 이제 투자했으니까, 물론 이제 비슷한 이제 솔라나 부동산 프로토콜이 생기면 비슷한 거 보고 싶어요. 만약에 투자하고 싶으면 처음부터는 이런 이제 큰 건물 안전하게 이제 확실히 이거 수익 같은 거 이제 되는 건물 이제 봐야 되니까. So, you wanna see if, some kind of, REITs protocol or real estate protocol comes out of Solana. They gotta have similar things. They gotta start with these big, safe commercial ventures, right, to establish a revenue stream. And then once they do that, they show that they can, produce revenue. They'll expand naturally, right? Everyone wants real estate. It's just a natural thing, right? So I see a lot of potential. This is like one of the few legitimate use cases of Solana DeFi. 이제 Solana DeFi에 엉뚱한 프로토콜도 너무 많은데, 진짜 Solana 이런 부동산 이제 똑바로 할 수 있으면 물론 이제 투자할 만해지죠. 근데 뭐 저희 같은 경우는 워낙 의심이 많아서, I mean, I'm just naturally very skeptical. So the only thing I'll be doing is just watching and seeing what happens, right? Um, 댓글 한번 볼게요, 다시. Let me look at the comments here. Oh yeah, so 청담동. Yeah, to answer your question, 이제 질문 대답하면 청담동은 여기에 카자 코리아는 없고 Parcel에서도 없는 것 같아요. I don't think Parcel has 청담동 land. I think it's all US based for now. 이제 Parcel 같은 경우는 다 이제 미국 인덱스만 있으니까 그것뿐이에요, 지금은. Parcel only has US based tokens, right? Let me look at exactly what kind of indexes they have. 이 정확히 이거 Parcel에 뭐뭐 있는지 한번 다시 볼게요. Um, Tribeca, Chelsea, Seattle, something in Seattle, Washington, Phoenix, San Fran. 다 미국이에요, 여기. Everything's based on US neighborhoods, I guess, right? 솔라나 NFT가 오픈시에 4월에 가는 것 때문에 솔라나 가격이 오르는 것 같은데 어떻게 보시나요? 그거 아무 관련이 없어요, altcoin님. 저희 개인 의견으로는 there's no way people got all excited that much movement based on just an OpenSea announcement. 그 OpenSea 발표 하나 때문에 솔라나 이건 크립토니까 다른 이유는 잘 모르겠지만 개인적으로는 그 발표 하나 때문에는 아닌 것 같았어요. 그렇지만 뭐 조금 관련이 있긴 있겠죠. 조금. 이 펌핑 전에도 이 약세 때 여기에 다 이제 승원의 큰 소식이 되게 많았어요. Altcoin 777 님. I mean, one of my subscribers, he asked me like, Is the OpenSea announcement the cause of the Solana pump? I told him that I personally don't think it has much to do with the pump. Um, I think it might have contributed to the pump, but I don't think it's like the main reason for the pump, right? You just never know exactly what causes pumps like this. It's crypto. It's extremely random, the stuff that happens. crypto 같은 경우는 this is crypto. 뜬금없이 그냥 막 움직여요, 가격이. So just I don't know. I have no idea what causes pump. 정확히 몰라요, 저는. Uh, DSPN. Oh, yeah. DSPN. DSPN님은 처음 보는데 솔라나 조금 관심 있나 봐요. DSPN님. If you want to know who I am, 저 누군지 모르면 첫 솔라나 유튜버입니다. I'm the first. If you still don't know who I am, I'm the first Solana YouTuber, right? So I don't know if people still don't know that, but there you go, right? 요즘 우리 구독자들이 뭐뭐 관심 있어요? Solana에? 궁금하네요. Everyone's interested in Solana again because the price went up. 다들 이제 가격 올라갈 때만 관심 가지고 Solana에. Crypto is so fickle. 이제 진짜 이 crypto 진짜 오래 하게 되면 너무 웃겨요. 이제 가격 올라갈 때만 사람들이 막 관심 있고 이제 가격이 내려가면 사람들이 다 우울하고 그냥 없어 사라지고. 그거 너무 웃겨요 진짜. Right? I mean, I see that shit. It's just so funny, right? 너무 웃겨요. 저희 같은 경우에, right? Nothing's changed for me. 저희 같은 경우는 그냥 그대로 그냥 계속 방송하고 있어서 약세든가 강세이든가 저는 그대로 방송해요. 저희 같은 경우. I come out, I broadcast rain or shine, right? Doesn't matter what it is. I will always broadcast and hang out with my subscribers. 우리 구독자들이랑 항상 재밌게 Solana 공부할 거예요, right? Just always gonna be having a good time with my subscribers, right? Oh, Tom tweeted selective investment decisions from a fund doesn't just help the fund, it also helps the target projects. This shit is so funny from these VCs. 아니 진짜 이런 트윗 보면 개웃겨요. 아니 뭐 제가 옛날부터 한 말 이제 VC 절대 믿지 말라고 진짜 한 너무 너무 많이 해서 이제 지겨운데 옛날 진짜 솔라나 중에 저만 이런 말 했 했어요. 제가 가장 빨리 다른 사람 이런 말 안 할 때 저 혼자서만 이런 말 했어요. "절대 이런 VC들 믿지 마라."고 하는데 이건 진짜 작년 10월 월에 했고 I mean no one in Solana was saying this kind of shit. Who in Solana was warning people to watch out for these predatory VCs? Now you have every VC saying the same thing suddenly that I was saying 6 months ago. 6개월 전에 제가 이거 한 말씀 이제 갑작스럽게 6개월 뒤에 이거 작년 10월 월에 제가 이거 말씀 분명히 했고 갑자기 이제 6개월 뒤에 VC들 걔네들 이제 자기도 이제 똑같은 말 하면 너무 웃겨요. Yeah, I mean, I knew they were gonna do something like this. Like 전 이거 뻔했어요. 나중에 얘네들 VC들이 이제 명의가 다 망해서 these VCs have such a bad reputation in Solana now that they all have to rebrand, and this is something I knew was gonna happen. It just was so obvious, right? 이거 얘네들이 VC들이 다 DAO로 이제 바뀐 걸로 이제 너무 뻔했어요. 얘네들 명의가 다 망해서 사람 이 투자자들이 VC들 그냥 너무 싫어하니까 얘네들이 어쩔 수 없이 이거 PR 나쁜 PR 때문에 이거 이렇게 리브랜딩 했는데 저희 같은 경우에 이런 거 보면 그냥 개웃겨요. I just see this shit, I just laugh. I'm laughing at these people when I see stuff like this, right? I mean, they think retail is dumb, right? This is the problem with VCs. 이제 Solana VC들 문제가 일반인 투자자들 너무 무시해요. 너무 크게 무시해요. They think retail is dumb. They can't play their games anymore. Right? I've said this so many times. 얘네들이 이상한 짓 더 이상 못해요. 저희 같은 경우가 너무 이제 잘 아니까 이 시장 너무 잘 아니까 VC들이 이상한 짓 더 이상 못해요. 왜냐면 사람들이 안 믿을 거야. No one's gonna trust these VCs when you have people like me who tell the truth, right? And teach people how to invest properly. 이제 우리 구독자들한테 진짜 이거 투자할 때 진짜 방법하고 노하우 이제 정확히 알려줄 때 이런 VC들이 이제 더 이상 이상한 짓 못하죠. So I mean, it's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time, right? Um, I don't know Korean well, but getting a lot of info from you. I'm a stranger living in Korea. Samo in there. Oh, so you bought a lot of Samo, bro. Bro, I uploaded probably the first definitely the first big Samo video on YouTube. The first big Samo video on YouTube. 큰 사모의 코인 동영상 제가 처음으로 올렸어. This one here, this was the first big Samo video on YouTube. I uploaded this such a long ass time ago, like last year, 1 year ago now. 1년 전에 이거 올렸어, right? I got into Samo before everyone else, right? But I don't hold any Samo anymore. I sold after that crazy meme coin season. 저희 같은 경우는 이제 세모이 코인 더 이상 보유 안 하는데 그 밈 코인 계절 끝날 때 그때 이제 큰 펌핑 할 때 팔고 그때 팔았어요. 시장 나갔어요 그때 저희 같은 경우는. So I got out of Samo a while ago, man. One of the reasons, dude, I'll tell you something that you probably don't know about me. 우리 구독자들이 저에 대한 거 이제 하나 모를 것 같은데 I uploaded the first big Samo video on YouTube. I got 0 thanks from the Samo team. They did nothing to thank me for this. And all the Samo coverage that I gave in 제가 이제 첫 사모잇 코인 동영상 올렸고 거의 이제 큰 사모잇 동영상 처음으로 올렸고 첫 번째였고 이 동영상이 그렇 사모잇 코인 동영상 엄청 많이 만들어졌는데 이 창립자들이 아무것도 안 했어요, 저한테. They did nothing to thank me. 얘네들이 아무 감사 안 했어요, 얘네들이. 그래서 얘네들이 무시해서 제가 무시당해서 저도 이제 똑같이 무시해요. 그래서 더 이상 사모이드 코인 홍보 안 해줘요, right? These guys gave me no thanks for all the coverage that I gave him. I could care less about Samo at this point, right? So, um, it's just it's like you try to be nice to people, you try to be nice to projects, right? 처음에 항상 이제 개발자들하고 창립자들한테 이런 커버링 해주고 무료로 공짜로 그냥 이제 저는 이제 첫 솔라나 유튜버이니까 그냥 다 이제 커버해주고 싶은데 먼저 이제 잘 해주지만 나중에 이제 무시당하면 물론 이제 똑같이 무시해야죠. Right? I tell this all the time to my subscribers, right? I try to be even-handed, right? I try to be fair with all these Solana devs and these Solana founders, right? But you give respect to get respect in this industry, right? And that's a fact. 먼저 이제 존경받고 이제 똑같이 존경해줘야 되니까 만약에 그런 규칙을 안 지키면 이제 저는 굳이 홍보해줄 필요 없어, right? A lot of people don't know how this YouTubing shit works, right? It's like it's a game. It's a game. That's what it is if you want to become a YouTuber. But I am curious again about what my subscribers are up to these days. I'm always curious. 항상 궁금해요. 우리 투자자들이 뭐 하는지. Okay, I'm gonna check. I'm gonna check Solana news for a little and then I'll bounce. 12시 반까지 하고 끝날게요, 오늘은. If there's no questions, 다른 질문이 없으면 그냥 12시 반까지 하고 끝날게요, 오늘. We'll go to 12:30 and then we'll bounce. Ansem shilling his bags is so funny. Ansem, you are a hilarious dude. He's like blatantly shilling his own bags now. Ansem 같은 웃기는 놈이 물론 이제 고래니까 계속 솔라나 사라고 하는데 아 개웃겨요. 이런 고래들 항상 조심해야 돼요. 항상. You should always be careful about what you hear on Twitter. If you see trading advice on Twitter, just take it with a grain of salt. Just be careful when you see like this, right? These dudes never tell you, and I'm gonna tell you this. This is a fact. 이제 분명히 말씀할게요. 이런 고래들이 트위터에 뭐 무슨 코인 이제 구매하라고 뭐 그런 샬랄샬랄 말씀할 때 그거 알아야 돼요. 고래들이 이런 말 할 때 이 걔네들이 미리 이미 자리 잡고 들어가고 이제 일반인 투자자들이 그다음에 들어가는 거예요. 그거 꼭 알아야 돼요. That's just the rule of Twitter, right? Anytime you see whales shilling their bags, you are buying their bags. That's how it is. They never tell you when they buy. They never tell you when they sell, right? These guys are not your friends. 이런 사람들이 친구가 아니에요. 꼭 알아야 돼요. That's the first rule of trading. 거래하고 싶으면 그거 꼭 알아야 돼요. Right? Gotta know this stuff if you want to invest in Solana, right? I'm not saying he's gonna dump on you, right? 뭐 이런 고래들이 나중에 뭐 우리 일반인 투자자들한테 덤핑할 거라고 그 말씀은 아니고 항상 현실적으로 의심적으로 생각하세요. Just I'm not saying he's gonna dump. I'm not saying whales are gonna dump on you necessarily. These kinds of whales. All I'm saying, take it with a grain of salt. Make your own decisions, right? Do your own research and make your own decisions all the time, right? No matter what. I actually talked about that. 제가 그거 분명히 말했어요 오늘, right? This let me tell you like an example of why I'm saying this. 그런 말 제가 왜 하는지 여기 트윗 하나 보여줄게요. So I'm gonna tell you this, show you this tweet, right? So I tweeted this today. 이거 오늘 트윗한 건데, Solana Day Trading 101 이제 Solana 그 단타매매 교육. You weren't buying here. 너는 여기에서 구매 안 했다. How many 이건 이제 2월이었고 이 트윗은. So this was in February. At the bottom, this was the absolute bottom. 이거 완전 바닥이었고. How many of us were FOMOing at 200? 이제 200 이제 200불에 이제 FOMO하고 들어갔고 그렇지만 지금 이제 완전 바닥으로 내려가서 아예 사람들이 뭐 구매한다 그 말씀이 없고 이건 2월이었고 그래서 그걸 이제 말씀 다시 여기 했고 you're FOMOing in here 이제 이미 127불까지 올라갔을 때 이제 사람들이 FOMO하고 그래서 그 말씀뿐이에요. Right? All I'm saying nobody was liking this. Nobody was saying, "Holy shit, dude, you're right. You should probably be buying some Solana down here." No one was saying anything here. Who was telling people that they were buying here? Obviously, no one except me, right? Um, and then now you're seeing all these people coming out and say, "Oh, you should buy," and then all of a sudden people are saying, "You should buy now," right? I mean, think about the timing of all these people who come out suddenly when these people disappeared here, right? And then now suddenly you see all these people saying buy. Just keep that in mind as you day trade, right? 이제 이때는 저만 구매하라고 말씀했는데 갑자기 이제 다시 가격이 올라가서 사람들이 막 갑작스럽게 나타나서 솔라나 구매하라고 이런 샬랄샬랄 하는데 그런 타이밍 보면 우리 구독자들은 조금 조심해야 돼요. 항상 잘 생각해야 돼요. 왜 그런 말 나오는지. 뭐 거래 추천은 아닌데 그런 거 항상 이제 알아야 돼요. 단타매매 할 거면, right? So if you're day trading, just you know the game. You already know what's up, right? 우리 구독자들은 다 똑똑해요, right? 다 알아요. They know the game, right? I've educated them well. 우리 구독자들한텐 되게 잘 교육시켰습니다. 최대한 진짜 최선을 다했어요. 저희 같은 경우는, right? I always do my best to educate my subscribers, right? All right. So there's nothing else really going on here. Mm, no questions. So I will end it here today. It's pretty late now. It's in Seoul. It's like past midnight. It's like 12:30. 조금 이제 늦었고 하고 싶은 말 다 전달했으니까 오늘은 그냥 여기까지만 할게요. So the people came out. 오늘 나오신 분들 너무 감사하고 삐약삐약님, altcoin, DSPN, new face 새 얼굴도 있고, right? Love you guys. Thank you for coming out. 항상 감사하고 I hope you guys make a lot of money in Solana this year. Solana 돈 많이 벌었으면 좋겠어요. 우리 구독자들, right? And don't forget the main meetup. We are having that main meetup. 이제 4월이니까 한 달 뒤에 이제 모임 할 거예요. 다음 달 우리 Souls가 Soul Community 제가 맛있는 거 사주고 같이 한잔 해요. We'll be having fun together. I'm very curious about who's in my community. I want to meet you guys face to face. 이제 직접 만나서 다 같이 놀아요. 강남에 맛있는 거 사줄게요. We'll hang out in Gangnam near where I live, and then we'll have a good time, right? So I'll keep you guys updated on that. 그건 이제 공지해 줄게요. All right, guys. See you next time. 다음에 봬요. Have a great evening. Take care, everyone. 다음에 봬요.